Imagine having the ability and resources to change the world. Would you do it? Hi everyone, Ken here. Welcome to This House. Today we are exploring the home of a couple who became the very change they wanted to see. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House. Edgar Bloomstern and Edith Rosenwald were a true power couple in the earlier part of the 20th century. Edgar was born into a wealthy family. After graduating from Harvard, he quickly climbed to the top of the cotton industry in New Orleans. The area's elites noticed this cunning young man making ripples in the business world and invited him to join their clubs. But Edgar was a man of conviction. At this time, many of the clubs did not allow members to join if they were Jewish, so Edgar declined each and every invitation, citing that he would not be involved in an organization in which his friends would not be allowed to join. It was no surprise then that he fell in love with Edith Rosenwald. She was the daughter of Julius Rosenwald, a renowned philanthropist and part owner of Sears Roebuck & Company, and was known to make waves in the political arena. She had a strong sense of morality and enough money to fund whatever cause she stood behind. Her parents were close friends with Booker T. Washington, who was born into the last generation of slavery. He advocated for equal rights and sought to dismantle Jim Crow laws in the South. Edith was inspired by him and would later organize voter registration for African Americans in the South and commit $15 million to build 1,000 homes for disadvantaged African Americans and freed slaves. At the time, both Edgar and Edith were considered highly controversial in the Old South, and there were groups that hated what they were doing. Perhaps that is why the couple decided to build an imposing structure to communicate their power, influence, and permanence as they continued their dedication to civil liberties. In 1924, they built a large home in the center of expansive gardens in New Orleans. But the house just was not quite right. Edith wanted to see her gardens from the windows, and the positioning of the house did not allow for the views she so desired. Instead of demolishing the house, the couple had it moved 100 yards away, having donkeys pull it a few feet per day, rolling across logs until it arrived at its new address. Now that the lot was free from the house, they had a 48-room mansion built in the center of their gardens, with each window boasting views of the landscapes designed by world-renowned landscape architect Ellen Biddle Shipman. The gardens were laid out to each be unique, some with color schemes and others with meandering paths set with pine needles. Altogether, over 100 species of plants were imported to the estate to create what was possibly the most beautiful gardens in the United States. The new mansion was built in the Greek Revival style, with each facade boasting a different design. Architectural elements, reminiscent of the plantations which once dominated the area, were worked into the details to create a cohesive aesthetic in line with the area's history. But unlike the old plantations, this house was cutting edge. It was the first in New Orleans to feature air conditioning, which allowed the architects to create massive interior rooms, laying out the proportions not to accommodate humid summers, but to allow geometry to guide the design process. Walking inside, columns flanked a central hall, which connected to each side of the home. A floating staircase was set in the center, sweeping towards the side. Continuing upwards, you would arrive at a landing where the stairs continued yet again, floating as they curved about a domed skylight, from which a chandelier dropped nearly 2 stories to light the hall. Facing the stair hall was the library. It was finished out in wood panels with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. The fireplace protruded with its upper mantel supporting a broken pediment above a portrait. The room was furnished with modern furniture made in the 1940s, with lively patterns in the textiles and upholsteries. The dining room depicted winding flowering trees on the walls, below elaborate millwork, and the crystal chandelier sparkled above the polished wood furniture, reflecting warm tones about the room. The living room offers us a glimpse into the early planning of air conditioning, as we can see vents centered above built-ins on either side of the fireplace. Other than this subtlety, the room was classically styled, boasting windows with deep encasements and damask wallpaper set over floral carpets, akin to the great Victorian homes from an earlier age. With the gardens meant to be the central focus of the estate, it was no surprise that it even included a flower room, specifically for cutting fresh flowers to place in vases around the house. There were several other specialty rooms, including the playhouse, with double-height ceilings vaulting above exposed trusses. As we continue through the house, we will notice bits of whimsy tastefully incorporated into design, such as the swinging bed we are seeing here, surrounded by bookshelves. We can imagine Edith curling up with her favorite books and reading in the gentle sway on a hot Louisiana summer day. Edgar and Edith hosted many parties in this house, as well as charitable events and fundraisers. It became a think tank for civil liberties activism and a meeting place for people who wanted to change the world. Edgar passed away in 1959, but Edith stayed in the house, continuing to hold meetings to propel the civil liberties movement. In 1968, she opened the gardens to the public for everyone to enjoy. While guests were picnicking on the lawn, she was busy inside, preparing her final gift to society. She quietly formed a nonprofit organization to continue the house as a museum and moved to a modest apartment nearby. As her health began to slip, she opened Longue Vue to the public in 1980 and oversaw its first few months of operation before her passing. Longue Vue continues to be open to the public for tours and plays host to various exhibits and creative activities. If you have ever visited, I would love to hear about your experience down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House. I would also like to take a moment to say a special thank you to our This House supporters whose names you can see on screen right now. If you would like to see your name on the screen, please consider joining our membership program today. I'll see you next time on This House.